A very warm good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, viewers. I'm Matthias Aufiku, news editor of the Namibian Sun newspaper. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Evening Review Show. Well, tonight we speak student matters, student funding matters, of course. Just a few days after the conclusion of the National Education Conference that was held in the capital city. And for that, we're joined in studio by Mr. Kennedy Kandume. He's the acting CEO of Namibia Students Financial Aid Fund. Sir, welcome.
Thank you, Matthias.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. When last were you here?
In fact, it's my first time.
Very good, very good.
My first time.
Yeah?
Yeah.
NSFAF, the big animal in education in Namibia.
Yes.
Well, headlines over the years, repeatedly, good, bad, a mixture of all. How's the institution doing?
So far, so good. Like you are saying, it's a mixture. I think we have turned the corner. A lot of good things happening at that institution. Yeah, that sometimes you guys in the media, you don't get to report the good things. You are only interested in those that are supposed to make the headline. But quite a number of good things has happened at that institution.
Yeah, can you share some of those good things with us? Since we don't report on them, you have the platform now.
Yes. For example, just to mention the few, last year you might have recalled that we have increased the recovery rate from an average of about 3.6 on a yearly basis to 10.2 million. It's quite a significant improvement if you look at it. If you look at student query, we have introduced various measures and mechanism in place. We have introduced what we call the omni-channel, where all the queries are channeled on a specific platform, and students are being replied to, or queries are being replied to, whether it's come via WhatsApp or whether an SMS or whether an email, and so on. They are being attended to. I think it's quite a significant amount. And if you look at the number of funding itself, the number of students funded themselves, it's also a significant improvement. We are talking about 17,000 students being funded on a yearly basis, as opposed to 13 on previous years, and so on. Operationally, again, there's quite a number of other things that we have that we have improved. The introduction of online application, but more so, not even online application itself, but the electronic handling of documents. All the documents are now, a person can just go to a computer, download document and submit. And in addition to that, I don't know whether you are aware that we used to have about 130,000 fiscal file. If you come there asking for your file because you want to repay or simply want to look at what document we have, we have to go and look into those documents among 130,000. But now that is a thing of the past. We have converted that into electronic format. If you give us your ID number, we'll be able to tell you that this is your information, this is how much you owe. If you want a statement, we'll be able to print that statement for you. So it's quite a number of improvements that we're talking about here.
Well, an interesting subject over the matter as far as NSFAF is concerned has been the legacy loans.
Yes.
And I know you spoke about the transformation as far as record keeping is concerned, now that things are electronic. How has it helped the process?
Imagine, again, like if somebody wants their information, maybe you pick up a call and you want to know, guys, I studied at the University of Namibia in 2010 until 2014, how much do I owe you, and so on. Previously, we'll go to the file. Perhaps we'll tell you to wait. Okay, call back, or we'll call you back in a day or two, 2 days' time, so that we go and locate your file among 130,000 files for us to give you an answer. But now we'll say, we'll just ask you, what is your ID number? And then with that ID number, we'll be able to go into our system and we'll be able to tell you, this is how much you owe us. This amount was paid to you on so date. This amount was paid on your behalf at the University of Namibia on so date. So that's the progress that we made in that area.
Because the issue of the legacy loan has also been the resistance by some of the former beneficiaries, fund beneficiaries, to repay the money. How are you doing in that regard? Are you finding each other with the Former beneficiaries?
Yes, like last year, you might recall that we went out aggressively through the media, telling the debtors or former beneficial that unless they come around to make arrangement to repay, we are going to publish their name, not in a way of naming and shaming, but basically just to tell them that we have been looking for you. You were funded by this institution, and you are not coming forth to repay, and therefore we have no other choice but to publish your name. Quite a number of debtors came forward, although we realized that some of them just came forward in order to avoid their name being published, but it resulted in the number of from previous debtors or previous beneficiaries coming around, but it's not to the extent that we wanted. Because there's, like you are saying, there's quite a number of Namibians who benefited from this fund. What I don't understand is whether they do not know that this fund is supposed to work as a revolving fund, meaning that somebody who's funded today, once they complete their study, having an income of some sort, either being employed or self-employed by generating income, they're supposed to repay the loan so that the next person also benefit the same way they did. It's as simple as that. That's how revolving funds are supposed to work.
So what do you think is driving this resistance?
I think it's mostly entitlement of Namibian. Most of them think it's government money, and therefore we are not going to pay, and maybe to a large extent also because there's not been action. I don't recall anybody being taken to court or his or her asset being actually auctioned for the fund to recover its money. I think that's partly also contributing to the resistance, because it's simple and it's clear. You enter into contract, you owe me, you're supposed to pay back.
That's correct.
Just like any other loan. And those loans are not saying because it's government loan or it was from government money, government subvention, you are not supposed to pay back. It's a simple loan with its term, just like any other loan, like the loan at the DBN, for example, and the other financial institution. It's the same. So I think to a large extent is because there's not been action in the past, and also now that entitlement that I mentioned.
Well, another factor is also looking at the fund currently and its financial position. Would you say the resistance to pay back, especially by former beneficiaries, does it have any impact currently on the fund?
It does, a significant one for that matter, because look, the continuing student loan take up almost $1 billion. And then new intake on a yearly basis, we're talking about 500 to 600 million. So our budget is 1.6 billion on a given year on average. So now at time, Treasury might allocate only 1.2, like last year, the last financial year, they allocate 1.2, but that was not enough. A lot of students were to be left out. We have to go back to Treasury to tell Treasury that, through the line minister, of course, that the allocation is not enough because we have not recovered enough to fill the gap. Because the expectation from Treasury is that you are dispersing this money as loan, so you have to recover so that we meet you halfway. In fact, this is how it's supposed to work, and this is how it's working elsewhere in the world on the agency like ourselves. That you're only given a certain amount of money and not 100%. Of course, with the type of the business model of student funding, you will never have it 100% that you are on your own. The Treasury will always be asked upon to give something, but in some cases it's on 50-50 basis or 60-40 basis, unlike in our situation where it's 99
because you mentioned earlier on that your recovery has increased to about 10 million a year?
Yeah, it's 10 million last year for the first time ever.
Yeah, and your funding needs per annum stands at around 1.6 billion.
Yes.
That's less than...
it's not even a percent.
Not even a percent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So how do we go around turning this tide?
We have to be aggressive in coming out after those that owe this institution. The loan book is standing at 5.2 billion. Just imagine if it was just 10% of that 5.2 billion that we're repaying. We'll probably be talking about 500 million. Which is something significant that can contribute to the yearly budget of the institution.
Yeah.
Unless and until maybe somebody come and tell us that no, you don't need to recover, we will go against those that owe the institution. Yeah, and I think for this year it's even made easier by the presidential announcement of amnesty on the interest. That because the president have announced that those who owe the fund interest should be waived. Meaning that they are only expected to pay the principal amount, or to repay the principal amount, which is debt made easy for them. It's become cheaper actually for those who owe the fund, and therefore we expect a lot of debtors and former beneficiaries to come forth and take advantage of that announcement and repay their loan.
Yeah, but has there been movement since this announcement was made?
There has been, but not to the extent that we would like to see. There are those that came forth to inquire, to get their statement, and for them to make arrangement, but not to the extent that would. I think the number is talking about 1,500 who came forward since then. It's a small amount, it's a small number if you compare to the total number of those that owe the fund.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you say you and your team are aggressive enough to recover these funds?
We got aggressive. We seriously got aggressive. The only thing that we have not done is to prosecute somebody yet.
Why is that?
And the reason has been that just when we're about to go to court with a specific name and so on, and then there come the announcement by the president, and we thought, okay, let's not mix the two. Let's give people an opportunity for them to come take advantage of the presidential announcement on the interest repayment, and then on interest payment, and then only thereafter we then really have to take them to court, because the amount we prepared to go to court with was based on the amount plus interest. Now we have to take off the interest because it has been waived. Yeah.
Mr. Kandume, we'll go on a short break and we'll be back for the second half of the show. To our viewers, we'll head for a short break and come back and continue this conversation. We're back from that short break, and thanks for staying tuned. Mr. Kandume, let's continue our conversation. As much as we push this agenda of recovering funds, there's also the internal shortcomings within the institution itself as far as operations are concerned. I mean, we always read in the papers how funds are paid to whether it's overpayment or into wrong accounts. The situation of the two CEOs. You've been an acting CEO for 4 years now, and nothing has been happening. Those are all funds that are seeping through the cupboard that could be used for student funding. How are you internalizing and ensuring that from an internal perspective, every penny is saved and used for student benefits?
We also read the same story in the media. Some of them, or most of them, not well researched. Of late, not so long ago, there was the story on the headline of one of the local newspapers where they said 148 million, for example, cannot be accounted for or has been lost. Actually, the headline is insinuating that 148 million has been lost. And they're saying they got that from the auditor's report, which we are saying, no, that's not what the auditors are saying. The auditors are actually just questioning the format of the invoice that we are getting from the institution of higher learning, where they are saying invoice equivalent to that amount came in the form of Excel. And we explained to them as to why we prefer Excel, because it is easy for us to match, to upload Excel format in our system and to match then the student ID there and the student number. But we have resolved with them that in addition to the Excel, we are going to get now a normal invoice in the PDM format and so on. But an outsider who's looking at that will think, and also because of the impression created by the headline, is that 148 million has disappeared. which is not true. In fact, they even put my pictures there, and whenever I'm working there, people could even be saying, "There's a guy who is having 148
Well, you are
million."
the accounting officer, albeit in temporary terms.
Yeah, so those are some of those things. And then, of course, there was also an issue of double payment and so on, to which we said, look, we are aware of 14 students who received, I think it's 5,000 twice each. And that was also caused by those students sharing same student number from different institutions. We never thought that something like that.
Same student number from different institutions?
Yeah, we never, you see, you are even surprised to be specific. UNAM student has got the same student number as at NAST. We never thought such a thing will happen. So when we matched at that time, because of issue of the ID, some students did not have ID, we then resolved to use the student number. So it so happened that those students has got exactly same student number. So it happened to be a double payment, which we are saying, okay, we have introduced a remedy for how to get that money back. So the issue of two CEOs, I don't even think it's supposed to be termed like that.
Why is it?
Yeah, because there is a substantive CEO, where, as we are all aware, there is labor issues. Until that labor issue is resolved, that matter is what is the word?
Sub judice.
Sub judice. So that's why I don't really want to go into detail of it. But see, this is the only CEO who's getting a CEO salary. For me, as acting person, I'm getting acting allowance in terms of the institution policy or the fund policy, to say if you are acting on somebody's behalf who is not in the office, this is the type, this is what needs to be remunerated to you. It's just really a fraction of a small percentage.
Yeah, but that small percentage could make a difference in a student's life.
Well, but there is work to be done while this person is so to speak on suspension or is at home, whatever the arrangement. Yeah, so the person who is doing that work ought to be remunerated just like any other institution. So so the sooner the matter is resolved, the better for everybody. But as it is, the person who's acting is getting that small percentage of.
So what are some of the shortcomings that you've experienced? What are some of the limiting factors that you are experiencing on a daily basis in an acting CEO capacity that you can't fully drive in the institution?
No, it's not a matter of there's something that as a person maybe that I'm not competent of handling. And therefore, like I said at the beginning, I was highlighting some of the achievements that we have attained since I started acting.
Yeah.
It's just that the other process need to be concluded first. And that process will either result now, whatever the outcome, but once that process is ongoing, there's now somebody that is acting in that position, and that somebody happened to be me.
I know you mentioned earlier on that some of the factors that are driving the resistance from former beneficiaries is the entitlement syndrome. But do you think these internal matters are also contributing to that perception of the public, and to say, but these guys are actually, well, whether it's perception or not, wasting money? Why should we then repay, but this is how they are spending the money in the institution?
Regarding now to the payment of allowances and the CEO?
Yes.
No, because, I mean, this is a practice everywhere else. Whenever you have CEOs who's, not even CEOs, even at any other level, the person who's the substantive person is not there, somebody need to take charge. And that somebody is being remunerated a certain percentage. I think a lot of institutions are using a percentage. You say if you are acting, maybe you get 15% or 10% of the substantive remuneration of that person. It's a common practice everywhere.
Mr. Kandume, accountability and reporting is one of I believe the key hallmarks of the institution in which you are running currently. And in the 2021 Auditor General report, this was one of the major red flags that were raised, that the reporting framework of the financial reporting framework of NSFAF is unacceptable. I believe that's the word that was used. It's without an acceptable financial reporting framework, the fund does not have an appropriate basis for the preparation of financial statements.
Yeah, I mean,
that's big in the financial, on a financial term.
I'm actually happy you asked that question, because this thing is also one of those things that was blown out of proportion.
Look, is it by the authors of the report?
Maybe both.
Who are the other parties?
Both the Auditor General and the report, and the reporter. Because look, Namibia as a country introduced what they call the IPAS. IPAS is the International Public Accounting Framework. I hope I'm getting the abbreviation right. And then in 2018, before that, there was other framework that NDT has been using. NSFAF happened to be using the IFRS for SMEs, as recommended by some other auditors and some other financial experts who were there before. So now, this is prior to 2018. Now, Auditor General started auditing our book in, I think, 2020, 2019. That's the first time they came there after a break, owing to some things again, although they have also audited books since 2010. In their finding, then during their audit, then they found that no, actually, the fund's supposed to use now the IFAS. And then we say, okay, fine, and well, we are going to introduce IFAS. And by the way, the IFAS was just introduced in Namibia in 2018. A lot of public entities are not using this framework. But they advise us that that's a framework that is recommended for institutions like yours. But however, you can use it you can introduce it through the phases or on the transition basis. Then we say, okay, fine and well, starting 2023 financial year, we are going to introduce the new accounting framework. And they have recommended a certain section within that framework that we should rather even evoke that and have our board approve the usage of that framework through that section they call the section 33. That section allows you to use, not to introduce the whole accounting framework at once, but to introduce it on on the face approach, and we thought that resolved the problem. so
there was consensus from the start.
Yeah, because that's the information I have, that you say, okay, fine, and well, we cannot introduce it just like that, because of certain things need to be in place and so on. But once you evoke that section 33, you will then be allowed to introduce on the face approach.
Yeah.
I was actually shocked to read that the finding is saying we don't even have an accounting framework, because this is the thing that we discussed in 2020. We appeared before.
Is it with the team from the Auditor General?
Yes.
Okay.
We appeared before the Parliament Standing Committee on Public Account in 2020, and they raised the same. And then again last year, they raised the same. So now I was shocked to hear that the same thing is being repeated. You know what the parliamentarians are thinking? The parliamentarians are thinking that we are actually undermining them, because how can now and then we are appearing before them just being told to implement the same thing? Because what that report is not saying is that the fund is implementing this on the face approach. Yeah, because this is actually what is happening there. I did not really expect that to be a finding for this. Even if it was to be, at least with some qualifier of saying, however, the fund is in the process of introducing now the right accounting framework as per recommendation, and using Section 33 and etc.
Yeah, but if you then discussed this with the AG's office after the report was made public?
No, look, AG's report is his report. So we only get the opportunities like maybe when we appeared before the Parliament Standing Committee to explain ourselves as to why certain things are the way they are. I don't know. In fact, I cannot even speak on behalf of AG. Maybe for them is that you don't have a framework, and that's what they are going to report, and that's what they did, irrespective of whether in the process there is some arrangement being done or some agreement being reached between their offices to when this is going to be rolled out and so on. Yeah, because it's clear in all our response, in what we call response to the management response in their finding, we have stated that. And we agree. In fact, they are the one who recommended that there's such a section that we can evoke in the meantime, just to prepare ourselves so that we start now using the right accounting framework.
Yeah. So how would you say this then impacts your work, you and your team's work? Well, this type of findings, obviously, you are rightfully not in agreement with them. What is the remedy for it? I'm sure. Would we, in the 2022 report, will we still read the same things, or is there something being done in the meantime?
The remedy is I think, is really so as to engage again. Like I said, it's Auditor General's report. It went to Parliament. It's accountable to Parliament. It went the way it did. In the next audit, we are going to engage again and say, please, it doesn't really help that year in, year out, you are reporting the same thing that we agreed already in 2020. If I'm not mistaken, it's 2020 that this is what we ought to do and this is how we are going to do it. There was a request for us to get this approved by the board, that the accounting framework has changed, was going to change. We are going to use the phase approach, and therefore starting in 2022 financial year we will be implementing it. But I suppose they were reporting on the current status. That's what I'm saying. It's his report. It's his report.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Mr. Kandume, thank you very much for your time this evening, and we wish you and your team well going forward.
You're welcome. Yes.
Thank you. To our viewers, that's it from the Evening Review Show. Thank you for staying tuned and have a pleasant evening.